Money is tight right now, and one way you can increase your income is by flipping used goods. In this video, we will show you how to do that based on over 12 years full-time experience in the antiques trade. And we will also show you how to make a profit whilst doing it. The 3 fundamental principles we're going to cover in this video are: number 1, you have to know more about the value of the item you are buying than the person who is selling it. Number 2, you have to buy items that have a 200% markup stitched into them. And number 3, you have to be prepared to make more effort selling the item than the person selling it to you. So let's have a look at these roles and some other important tips as we go through the video. If you have any questions, just drop them in the comments below and I will do my best to answer them for you. So let's have a look at a few items here that I've picked up recently to illustrate the point. So here's a little cup I picked up recently. Now this was made in about 1840. It's by a manufacturer called Berlin KPM. And every single tiny detail of this cup is hand enameled. Now this was originally a chocolate cup. It would have had a little lid and it had a little saucer, so it's incomplete. Now if this was complete, I'd probably get anywhere between 800 to 1200 pounds for the set. I could still sell this to a collector for between 50 and 80 pounds. I paid 20 pence for this at a car boot. And the reason I was able to do that was because I know this mark, I could see the value straight away, and I've bought and sold Berlin KPM over the years, as well as other German manufacturers. So I know about this cup. It's in my own collection at the moment, and I've paid 20 pence for that. So here we have a pair of Japanese Arita Hirado vases, late 19th century, and I bought these at an auction, a local auction. I should be able to sell these for anywhere between 100 and 150 pounds for the pair. I bought these in a job lot, and I paid £2 for the whole lot because the auctioneer didn't know what they were. But again, these are in my own personal collection. Now these are unmarked. There are no markings on them, but I know the colour of the porcelain. I know the colour of the blues. I know these are Japanese. Now I'm not saying all this so that you can remember that. I'm saying all this so that you can see I know what I was buying. Now, I wanted to show you this one because it wasn't advertised correctly on eBay, and I managed to pick this up. This is a Japanese Fukugawa porcelain tray. Very unusual shape. I've not seen one of these before, and I knew what it was because of the mark on the back, the porcelain paste, and the design. And I paid £8 for this, and if I sell this on the open market, I would stick a price of between 90 to maybe 130 pounds on this, and I paid £8 for it. And that was on eBay. So you can see that we can still make money buying on places like eBay. This is a rare find and not easy to find like this. They're listed as a Chinese dish, I think, but now this is in my own personal collection. So if you think about that now, we've got £2, £8 and 20 pence. We've got £10.20 worth of stock, and on the open market I would sell this for about £250. Now I'm not saying that so that you rush out there and start thinking you can become an antique dealer overnight. What I'm trying to say is that once you've got a bit of knowledge, you'll be amazed how much money you can make from picking up things and buying things and flipping them. So let's get into the meat of the video. Where profit is made. All the profit you make is made at the point of purchase. You have to know that you can get more for the item than the person selling it when you buy the item. So that essentially means that whatever you buy the item for, that will determine how much money you will make when you sell it. So if you don't know how much something is worth, don't buy the item unless it is so cheap it doesn't matter. You see, a lot of people in the trade, they treat flipping like it's gambling. They are guessing what they can get for an item. But if we want to be successful, if we want to be profitable, don't do that. Ask me how I know. Use your knowledge, use your intellect. You only buy something when you know it has value and you know the value of the item. So let's have a look at choosing a niche. To make money, you need to find an area that you can become an expert in. It's expertise that creates money. So what I was just showing you there was 12 years of trading full time, and that then is a consummation of that knowledge. That then is what enables me to go out and pick up items like that on a regular basis. Most days I can go out and pick up something that's worth a lot more than what I'm paying for it. But if you want to flip something and you want to earn money quickly, you want to look at niches where you know something about that niche. So maybe you know something about vintage clothing or clothing in general. Maybe you know something about 1980s music. Pick something you have a knowledge about and also has a healthy second-hand market. You can use eBay, Etsy, Vinted, Amazon, or other online marketplaces to understand what's in demand. Pay attention to current trends in that niche and look at successful sellers on these platforms. Study their stock, look at what they're selling, and where possible, look at what has sold and see if you can pick up some trends. Because successful sellers will follow a trend. And the other thing you have to do is be patient with yourself. Give yourself time to learn the niche. Nobody masters a niche in a weekend. But the other mistake you don't want to make is you don't want to procrastinate because you don't have a niche. Sometimes you just have to pick something and start flipping it. You will need to set your schedule. Decide what time you're going to give to the business and assign that time. So if you're working during the day, you might spend 2 hours an evening on your business to manage listing and shipping. And you might put Sundays aside for stock sourcing when you're visiting car boots. But whatever you do, put that time aside. Be aware of the time cost you want to commit to the business before you start the business. And diligently invest that time and stick to that. Because flipping is more about investment of time and acquiring the expertise than it is about investment of money. Once you have the knowledge, someone could drop you anywhere and you can make money. And it's the knowledge that you're after. It's the knowledge that creates the profits. Fund your business. You need to raise a pot of cash to fund your stock. Let's say you want £500 as your stock fund to start. A simple way you can do this is look around your house for anything that you're not using and sell that, flip that, as that will help you learn how to photo, list, and ship an item. Look at ways you can save money. Think about cancelling some subscriptions. If you save £30 a month by cancelling Netflix, Disney Plus, and all the rest of it, that is £30 a month for stock investment. It also gives you some time back in the evenings to invest in your flipping business. Tighten your belts, get in control of budgets, find profits through cost savings and invest that. So what do I mean by that? We all have profit in our life and we tend to spend that profit on things that don't necessarily generate wealth. But if we can take those profits, if we can simplify and get our life as simple as possible, we can create some cash and we can use that to buy and flip stock with. Now, the most important fundamental rule in a flipping business, if you want to become profitable, is this: never borrow on credit cards to fund the business, as this means your profit margins are going to be reduced by minimum 30% as soon as you start, and profit margins can be tight. Also, you're starting this business for yourself to raise extra cash, not to find another way to fund the bank's greedy interest rates. Always build it from your profits, never build it from debt. So let's have a look at where to buy. So auctions, clearance auctions can be a great way to pick up items that have value, as the auctions often just want the items out of the way. And this is often the cheapest place to buy. Try to buy in bulk lots, in job lots, like I did with the Tuarita vases that I showed you. That was mixed up with some bric-a-brac, and the auctioneer didn't know what they were, so I managed to pick up the whole lot for £2 because he wanted to get rid of it. And always start going to general auctions. Don't go to antiques auctions in the beginning, because the people in that room, a lot of them know what they're doing, and basically they're going to eat you for breakfast if you go in there without much knowledge. So general auctions tend to have more stuff that's flippable as well. So you can get electrical goods, you can get lots of different things that you can buy and sell. And that's the place you want to start. If you can find a local auction that's house clearance, that's the place to go. And that's why this is often the cheapest and easiest place to acquire stock, as a lot of it is just house clearance stock. But be choosy. Just because it's cheap doesn't mean you should buy it. A garage or shed full of cheap stock you can't sell is still tying up stock money. What about thrift stores, charity shops, car boot sales, garage sales? Well, I put all these together because they're pretty much the same in the sense that they often have underpriced goods, especially if the sellers don't recognize the value, but they also often have overpriced items. As every charity shop these days thinks it's an antiques dealer, and so do a lot of the car boot sellers. So what they do is they look at online prices and think that they're going to sell that item locally for the same price. And we're going to go into this a bit more later, but they think they can get the same price as if they sold something overseas. So for example, I would buy a lot of Chinese porcelain from the 19th century. I really specialized in that. And I would ship that and sell that to China. What happens is the local charity shop will see that and see the prices on something and think, oh, I can charge that. But they don't have Chinese collectors walking down the high street looking in the shops trying to buy those items, so they can't get that price. Now online, so websites like eBay, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, local classifieds sometimes have underpriced goods, but other checkers will be checking those items. So the competition is higher and therefore the prices tend to be higher. And that makes this one of the hardest places to find bargains, but it can be done if you look for listings that have not been described properly and nobody's picked up on them. So that's how I managed to pick this up. As I mentioned earlier, this was on eBay and someone had listed it as a Chinese dish. Well, the Chinese collectors looked at that and go, well, that's not Chinese, I don't want that. And then the Japanese collectors couldn't find it. So that's a way you can find bargains. You have to find stuff that's been put in the wrong category. It does happen, but it doesn't happen very often. But you really have to know your stuff to make that work. So another thing we have to do is inspect and authenticate. So we want to ensure items are genuine, especially if we're dealing with brands or collectibles. One of the things I was able to do with Chinese porcelain, Chinese antiques, was I could tell you the fakes. I know what the fakes look like, and that's how I would make money, because not many people can do that. Only specialist Chinese porcelain dealers can do that. So if you're dealing with clothing, you have to be able to tell the real ones from the fake ones. And the other thing you have to do is check for damage and or make sure the item is working, as this can severely affect resale value. This is the biggest mistake in flipping, rushing a purchase and not spotting damage or restoration or not checking it works. This seriously lowers your profit margins over a period of time. Now, the other thing you have to do is calculate costs and potential profits. And this is the boring bit. And people don't like doing this, but you have to do it. Factor in all costs, buying price, listing fees, shipping, packaging, and potential return costs. Now, this is why we said earlier you need to set a 200% profit margin. So if you buy it for £10, you need to sell it for £30 because there's £10 to buy it, £10 for your costs, and £10 profit. And if you don't operate a 200% profit margin, you won't make money. Now, sometimes you can be flexible based on market demand. As you go higher, you might see something and it's £50 and you know I can sell that tomorrow for £120. Once I've got my listing fees out of the way, there's £30, £40 profit in there, but it has to be a very quick sale. It has to be an immediate flip to break the rule. So don't do it at the beginning. Sometimes you'll come across something and you know it's a really slow seller, but you know it's worth a lot of money, but the buyers don't turn up very often. So if I knew something was worth £100 and I'll probably sell one of those every year, I'd be wanting to spend about £20 on that because that's got to sit there. I've got to hold that and that's going to tie up £20, which I could flip quickly in other items. But if I really like it and I know it's a niche item, I would do that, but I wouldn't use the 200% rule at that point because it's tying money up. So the longer you think you're going to have to hold it, the less you want to pay. But the basic principle is this, the simple version, whatever you pay, add 200% on, that's what you need to sell it for. So the item has to be able to be sold at that in the marketplace, not what you think it's going to be sold for. So let's talk about negotiation. When buying from an individual, always ask them how much they want. Let them set the price point. Now, if they're pricing well over you in a charity shop and they say, I want £60 for that, and you know it's only worth £10, £20, just walk away. Just say thank you and walk away. Don't spend time with them. They're unrealistic. They haven't got a clue what they can get for it or what it's worth, or they're overpricing it. If they're pricing under, don't move too quick. Don't get too excited. Take your time, pause a little, and then agree the price. Don't haggle if it's a good deal. Don't waste time. They might just get fed up and say they're not selling it to you. So you just like, oh, okay, £20 you're saying, okay. Yeah, I think I can do that. Let's go with that. £20, that's fine. Now, if you need to haggle, don't be afraid to state what you're willing to pay. So let's say they've got £30 on it and you know that you're going to get £60 for it. So you're breaking the rule if you buy it at 30. So you're going to say to them, okay, are you willing to take £20 for this? Is about the maximum I can go on this. Is that something you would be interested in? Now, the worst they can say is no. Don't be frightened of rejection. You're haggling. That's what it's about when you're buying. Now, if you want to know how to handle the auction room, then you need to check out my antiques course on my website in the Business Buddies program, because I've got a full course there on how to buy and sell antiques. And that will teach you how to manage the auction room, which is all about very professional haggling. But I would only recommend that course for full-time professional sellers. I wouldn't recommend it for someone who's just starting out and wanting to learn to flip, because there's a lot of knowledge in there and it's not going to be suitable for someone who's just trying to make some extra money quickly. So where to sell? This is really important to understand because you need to buy locally where competition for that item is low and that keeps the prices down. And then you need to sell it nationally or internationally where competition for the item is higher from collectors and other buyers, because that's where the money is. You're taking it from the local market and you're selling it to a national or international market. That's where the profit is. So if you're going to do that, the main platforms you need to look at are eBay, suitable for a wide range of products, but gives you access to the collector's market worldwide. Now, Amazon has some things on there, mainly used books. So check that out and see if that's somewhere where you can sell your stuff. We have Etsy, which is good for vintage or handcrafted items. You have websites like Vinted where you can sell clothes. So find a platform that specializes in your niche and sell it there online. And if you can't find somewhere to sell your item, don't use that as your niche. Now, the other option you have is you could sell online locally, which gives you a little bit of an uplift, but not much. So you'd use Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. And you do that because you want to avoid shipping and fees, but be aware that profit margins are very low as you're selling to a very small pool of buyers and you're not selling to collectors. This works better if you're flipping large, difficult items and you want to clear out stock from job lots. So you might want to flip a sofa. Facebook is a great place because someone can come and collect it. Or you might have been to auction and bought a load of stuff and you wanted one item, you got to clear the rest, and you can sell the rest of it to a car booter who will come and buy it for their car boot stock. Boot sales for selling, this is the absolute bottom of the barrel. In America, we would call these maybe a yard sale. This is not the place to sell, this is the place to buy. The only time you do this is when you've got loads of dead stock, you can't even sell it on the Facebook Marketplace, and you need to clear it out, load the car up, load the van up, take it down there and let it go. If it's 10 pence, 20 pence, 10 cents, 20 cents, you sell it. That's what car boots are for. Clearing out stuff you can't be bothered to take the time to list anywhere. So we need to think about presentation. Always clean and refurbish items. There is a profit in just doing that. If you go to a car boot and you find a Levi's shirt and it's all crumpled and dirty and you look at it and think this just needs a good wash, and then you can go online, it's vintage, you can sell that 30, 40, 50 pounds. The profit there is cleaning and ironing it and then presenting it properly. So good images are essential as that allows the buyer to inspect the item before they buy. And you always write detailed descriptions. You always describe any defects, restoration or damage. Don't try to cheap out on like really simple, quick descriptions. The buyer wants more than that from you. So in terms of pricing, what you need to do is you need to check comparable sold listings. So you're looking for information on something that's actually sold, not what it's listed for, what it's actually sold for, because that tells you a market price. Now you can check sold prices on places like eBay, and that's going to give you a good idea. Now, in terms of selling, consider using auctions for items in high demand, and if you know it is very collectible. If an item is rare and you know its value or you know it's valuable, price it high and allow people to make offers. Don't auction that. This is in effect a reverse auction, and we used to use this all the time because what it allows us to do is it allows us to put the item on eBay. That's what we used at the time. And then when the right buyer came along, and he might only check eBay once or twice a month, when he comes along, he sees the item, he collects it, he'll make an offer. And this is also a way to find a value of an item. We might think it's worth a lot of money. We've not seen one before. And then we start getting several offers. And after a little while, we start to realize that there is a price point people are willing to offer for that. But this protects you from putting an item on somewhere like eBay and just letting it go for 99 cents on an auction because the buyer isn't around. And this is a fundamental mistake. Never put items on eBay for 99 pence or 99 cents start. All that's going to happen is another picker, another flipper, they're going to find your item, wait for nobody else to buy it, spot it, and they're going to buy it. In fact, that's a good way to pick up items. Just watch 99-cent auctions every Sunday and see what's being missed, what's not being bought, put a bid in, get it cheap. So you're waiting for your buyer to find the item some of the time. You can't just put something out there into the marketplace and expect it to sell immediately. Even if you've seen something sold and you saw it sold for £120, you think, oh, I'm going to put it on. Someone's going to come along and pay £120. That might have been there 3 to 6 months. And then someone was looking for that exactly, and they were willing to pay the price. It's really important to understand that. You're listing the item for the right buyer. Now, one of the most important things is customer service. Ship items quickly, pack them securely and safely. You're responsible for the item getting there. And the post office, they might decide to play football with your item. So we used to ship pottery and porcelain all over the world, Australia, China, Canada, loads of places. And you had to pack it really well to protect it. So if you're going to do a lot of international stuff, maybe look at shipping items that are easy to ship, but can sustain a bit of damage. Don't start with pottery or porcelain if you think that's going to stress you out. One of the things you have to understand is a lot of the reviews you're going to get if you're selling on somewhere like eBay is for the quality of the packaging. They'll say the item was great, was really well packed, item was well protected, and they're going to give you a good review for that. And most of your reviews, if you pack well, will be for that, because that's one of the biggest fears a buyer has, is that you're going to send it to them, it's going to be damaged in transit, and then you're going to try and not give them a refund or something. So that's a fear you have to overcome. And that's why we used to handle returns in a certain way. We would actually pay for the return postage because it takes the stress out of the buyer. And over the years of selling thousands and thousands of items, hardly ever did anyone take advantage of that, because we would send it out. If they've taken the effort to return it, they're not trying to rip us off. They're genuinely unhappy with the item. We'd take that back, we'd refund the item and refund their return postage, and we'd take that as a business cost. And remember, if you've got that 200% markup, you've got money in there for that. So we used to always take responsibility for the return cost, and that created sales. That enabled us sometimes to get more than other sellers who would be selling a similar item, and they would say, if it gets lost in the post, that's your problem. I'm not interested in it. So if I think about it, who are they going to buy from? Are they going to buy from the guy who says, this is £60, but if anything goes wrong, we're going to cover all your costs? Or are they going to buy it from the guy that's selling it for £40 and says, if anything happens, you're on your own? Now, another thing to watch out for is if you buy a damaged item, take the hit. Don't hide it and then try and pass it on to the buyer. A lot of sellers do this. That's not the buyer's problem. That's your problem. Our job when we're flipping is to satisfy the customer first, make profit second. And this is what's going to build the social proof online, and this is what really grows your business. Your reviews and online reputation is everything. The better it is, the more people buy from you, the more competition there is for your items. If you can find 10 buyers that come to you regularly, they're going to buy from you and increase your profit margin. So when you pick up a customer, don't think of it as a one-time purchase. Look after your customers because they look after you. So how do you grow your business? You've started flipping, you're doing quite well. Well, once you've mastered your niche, what you do is you find another niche and you learn that. So let's just use a simple analogy. Let's say you've been selling Wrangler shirts and you find that you now know which Wrangler shirts sell well, which one are the vintage ones and which ones tend to go out quickly, what sizes sell well. And then you see a Levi shirt, so now you start selling Levi shirts, you start experimenting. And then you find a pair of trainers, oh, we're going to flip these. And then you start finding some jumpers and some cardigans and some coats. Don't move too quick. Don't try and sell every type of clothing straight away. Start with maybe a size and a certain brand quality, and then slowly build niches out over time. Now, the reason you do this is the more niches you have, the more profitable your buying trips will be because you have many niches to shop in. I used to go to an antiques auction, and I was particularly looking for 19th century Japanese, 19th century Chinese, and 19th century European porcelain. That was where I made most of my money. So I could go to an auction. There's a guy over here and he's competing with me for all the Chinese stuff. There was lots of Japanese stuff there, but he wasn't competing with me for that. And then sometimes you'd go and there'd be Chinese and Japanese dealers in the room, but there'd be no European buyers. So then I'd be able to pick up some European pieces. That's the way it works. And that works at antiques, that works at the car boot, it works at the local auction, the charity shop, it doesn't matter. It works because the more niches you have, the more potential profit there is on a buying trip. So your buying trips become a lot more efficient. Now, the other important thing is to understand is that you need to reinvest your profits. Don't fall into the trap of buying on debt, as we've already mentioned, but what you do is you buy stock from the profits you make. So you want to hold back at least a minimum of 10%, and I'd recommend 25% if possible, so that you can increase your stock base. Grow it slowly. Don't rush this. Concentrate on picking quality stock over time rather than lots of cheap stock and trying to flip it quickly for low profits. Buy quality stock, but take 25% of your profits and pay the business first before you pay yourself. And then over time, you're slowly just going to increase your stock base. You're going to increase your profits month by month, and you're going to increase the funds you have, and slowly you'll be able to buy better quality stock over time. And the other thing we want to do is grow the stock base slowly. Don't rush it. I used to fall into this trap trying to buy too much too quick. Don't do that. You end up with a lot of dead stock you can't shift. Markets can also change, so you need to keep up to date with trends, demands, and pricing. All of a sudden, something you've been selling for ages goes out of fashion. Nobody wants it. And then you're like, what just happened there? So you have to keep an eye on that. If you've already got 2 Levi shirts extra large in, don't go and buy any more until they're sold. Don't overstock. And that leads us into rotating stock. If stock has been around for more than 12 months, you need to clear that. That's what all the retail shops do. They take a loss on it if they need to, but they're releasing cash back into the business. So they have that money back in the account. Don't leave money tied up in stock. So let's have a look at legal and financial considerations. Depending on your country and the area you live in, you might need to notify the authorities of your business, so make sure you do that. Keep records of all transactions for tax purposes and invest in good stock management and accounts packages. They don't even have to be that expensive these days. Just look online, see what people are using. Make sure you report your earnings and you pay the right taxes. Don't mess with a tax man. And just to help you with all of that, just get yourself an accountant. They pay for themselves. So like any business, flipping requires effort, research, and sometimes a bit of luck. But you make your own luck. You want to start slow, learn from your mistakes, and continually refine your strategies. The longer you are doing it, the more money you will make. So I encourage you, get out there, start looking at some things you can flip that you have access to in your local market, that you can take to an international market, and start making some money that's independent of an employer and that you are in total charge of. Now, I hope you found this video useful. Like and subscribe if you want more of this. And if you have any thoughts on any of this content, drop a comment below. If you found anything and sold it and made a big profit, drop it in the comments. Let me know. I'd love to hear the stories of people flipping and how they found something that made them a good bit of money. You can also check out my very popular free marketing training course if you're thinking about starting a new business right now or have been tasked with marketing a new business. And if you'd like to support the channel and also learn more about being an entrepreneur and starting your own business or need support as you grow your current business, then check out my Business Buddies community, which focuses on all things entrepreneurial, and you can get 50% off the low monthly cost as a YouTube subscriber. And I'll put a link to that and the free training course in the description below. Over 300,000 students from all around the world have already taken our courses, so we must be doing something right. Thanks for watching. I look forward to catching up with you in the next video.